Ladies and gentlemen, this morning we have a massive free speech alert coming from none other than, you guessed it, the United Kingdom. They call it Great Britain. Now we got to call it the once Great Britain. Not so much anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this. Coming out this morning, a message from YouTube to all of its content creators has been verified. This message from YouTube coming out this morning is warning that the United Kingdom government is attempting to force YouTube to push forward legacy media outlets to YouTube viewers like the BBC, ITV, and Channel 4. These are British public legacy media outlets. The United Kingdom government wants YouTube to push these outlets instead of independent journalists and independent political commentators. Now, I want to be very clear here. This is not YouTube doing this. This is the British government leaning on YouTube, pressuring YouTube to try to do this. YouTube, actually, credit to them, YouTube sent out this message to all types of YouTube commentators and YouTubers saying this. This is a message from YouTube here. They say, the United Kingdom government is running a public consultation called Watch This Space, a new strategic direction for United Kingdom media, is what it's called. The proposals coming from the British government include mandatory changes to how content is discovered on YouTube. This could direct audiences away from your channel. My channel, I suppose. As a YouTube creator, this directly impacts your future. Digital content discovery works best when driven by user choice, not by legal requirements. This is a vital window for you to share your perspective before the consultation closes on August 31st, 2026. Folks, YouTube is actually requesting that YouTubers like me, like us, like everybody, speak up and get vocal and push back against the British government. YouTube is begging us for help. That's what this is. Their message to the public goes on to say, impact of Britain's new proposed rules. The proposed new rules include a mandatory prominence regime. This could require digital platforms like YouTube to prioritize and give a privileged position to traditional broadcasters like the BBC and ITV and Channel 4 in user interfaces and recommendation feeds, potentially pushing your independent content out of sight. Mandating prominence to traditional institutions will impact all other independent digital creators, production companies, and independent companies, including through your content will get downranked. Pushing this group forward, the British government-approved media group forward, means pushing everyone else downward. Mandatory prioritization on YouTube of broadcasters would affect how your content reaches your audience, regardless of what your audience actually wants to see. Can I pause here? Maybe some people don't really understand the nuance of how YouTube works. YouTube has a recommendation algorithm that really is pretty simple. Depending on how many people click on your video on the homepage of YouTube, and then depending on how long that person watches your video, YouTube says, okay, this is a popular video. This is a good video because people are clicking it and people are watching it for an extended period of time. That means we're going to continue to promote that video because people seem to like it. But inversely, if I, for instance, upload a video and not that many people click on it, and the people that do click on it don't really watch it for very long, then YouTube gets the feedback. They say, okay, this is really maybe not a very good video. Not many people are clicking it and not many people are watching it for very long. So we're going to kind of stop promoting that video. That's how YouTube works. That's how the YouTube recommendation algorithm works. And so what the British government is coming out here and saying, they're saying, YouTube, that entire sort of user feedback based recommendation system, we want you to scrap that. Instead, we just want you to force our approved media in front of YouTube viewers, regardless of whether or not they even want to see it, regardless of whether or not they click it, regardless of whether or not they watch it for an extended amount of time. You just need to shove it there in front of everybody's eyes. That is what the British government is saying right now. YouTube goes on to say, this change would also reduce user exposure to diverse content and independent creators. Mandating prominence like this, or British government approved news outlets and media networks, would push the diverse mix of independent journalists, educators, and digital-first businesses further down. This would be a threat to channel growth. Your ability to organically grow your community, generate views and revenue, and build a sustainable business on YouTube would be compromised if your content is harder to be discovered. Yep. And finally, YouTube says this would undermine the creator audience, the bond between the creator and the audience. This attempt by the British government would erode that bond that creators have with their community. Now, I want to say one more time, ladies and gentlemen, before anybody freaks out on YouTube here, now, YouTube is not perfect, of course. YouTube is not at fault here. Okay, to be very clear, this is the British government coming to YouTube and saying, hey, you need to shut down independent content creators, independent news commentators, whatever, journalists, and instead, we're going to try to legislatively force you to promote our regime-approved news outlets. What is YouTube doing in response? YouTube is pushing back. YouTube is coming out and saying, listen, guys, content creators, audience members, we need help. You guys need to raise your voice and push back against the British government. So this is YouTube, to be clear, pushing back. They're doing the right thing here. They're asking us for help. Now, I want to show you something here because we have a statement on all of this morning from Nigel Farage, who's over, he's slightly more conservative in the British government. He says this: look at this appalling state censorship, is what Farage says this morning. Labour, that's Keir Starmer's Labour Party, wants to seize control of YouTube's algorithm. They want YouTube to artificially boost the BBC and Channel 4's content and suffocate independent journalists and producers. The BBC has been biased towards pro-mass migration, open borders, and net zero views these past few decades. It's part of the reason we're in this mess in the first place. The BBC's own internal reports admit and document some of this bias. They're not even hiding it. People have moved to X and YouTube in part as a response to it. And now Labour wants to control what people are seeing on YouTube. We also have a statement here from Rupert Lowe over in the United Kingdom. He comes out, he says, Rupert Lowe, the leader of Restore Britain, has warned that a ban on X.com, is also coming, vowing that if they try it, Restore Britain will fight them in the courts and hold the biggest protest London has ever seen. Now, folks, here's the thing. As I said a moment ago, YouTube actually sent out this memo to YouTubers, actually sort of begging for help. They want us to stand up and push back against this draconian British censorship. So just to be clear again, this is not YouTube's fault. In this case, this is not YouTube's fault. I'll tell you what, though. YouTube, they probably cannot do this alone, not even with all of our help. They're probably going to need some sort of direct intervention from the US government, from the Trump administration. And actually, between you and me, if I had to bet, I think that in the very near future, that is actually exactly what we're going to see. I think we will see that happen. I think we will see the Trump administration get involved here and push back against the British government. And the reason why is because over the last year and a half, the Trump administration has already been pushing back against various forms of European internet censorship. I'll give you a couple examples here. This is Secretary of State Marco Rubio in December of 2025. He says this 8 months ago, and I quote, "For far too long, ideologues in Europe have led organized efforts to coerce American platforms to punish American viewpoints that they oppose. The Trump administration will no longer tolerate these egregious acts of extraterritorial censorship. Today, the State Department will take steps to ban leading figures of the global censorship industrial complex from entering the United States of America. We stand ready and willing to expand this list if others do not reverse course." Folks, recap here. 8 months ago, the Trump administration's State Department actually banned some of these very censorial European diplomats from even stepping foot in our country, pushing back on them. Okay. Now, Rubio also, in another instance, said this. This was also December of 2025. This is when the European Commission attempted to fine X for not self-censoring. Elon Musk's X.com. Marco Rubio says this. The European Commission's $140 million fine isn't just an attack on X, it's an attack on all American tech platforms and the American people by foreign governments. Rubio says, the days of censoring Americans online are over. So, folks, like I said, the Trump administration, the State Department, they're not going to be tolerating this. And I'll tell you something here. You want to know why all of these European diplomats, why the United Kingdom, the country once known as Great Britain, you want to know why they're attempting to censor all of these America free speech platforms? It's because our America free speech platforms, X and YouTube and otherwise, we are undermining their sort of authoritarian, draconian control of their own people. Because what's been happening is that British people, British patriots, German patriots, Swedish patriots, whatever, all across Europe, they've been posting all types of information, videos, the truth. They've been seeing the truth on X and on YouTube, thanks to communities like this, thanks to you guys, really, in large part, all over the internet. And those draconian European governments, they are not happy about it. They are pissed off. They want to censor our free speech because their own people are getting exposed to our American conception of free speech. That's why they want to shut this down. And you know the Trump administration is leaning back on it now. As it pertains to all of this, there's a video I absolutely love. I love to show this video every time I have a chance. This is something that J.D. Vance said about a year and a half ago. Okay, right around the time the Trump administration got back in the White House. And I want to play this because it is so true, it's so pertinent, and it is so relevant. Listen to J.D. Vance here. A year and a half ago, he said this.
I really believe that we have a great deal in common with Europe. And I'm not, yes, the Europeans annoy me sometimes, and yes, I disagree with them on certain issues, but we have to remember that is the cradle of Western civilization. The entire idea of Christian civilization that led to the founding of the United States of America, that was formed in Europe. The cultural bonds, the religious bonds, these things are going to last beyond political disagreements, but I think that Europe, and frankly, I would have said this about America a year ago, but Europe is at risk, I think, of engaging in civilizational suicide. They are unable to, or unwilling, too many countries to control their borders. You see them starting to push back against that, and good, that's a good thing. You see them starting to limit the free speech of their own citizens, even as those citizens are protesting against things like the border invasion that got Donald Trump and a number of European leaders elected. So look, I want Europe to thrive. I want them to be an important ally. Part of that is going to be Europe respecting its own people, respecting its own sovereignty, and America can't do that job for them. If you have a country like Germany, where you have another few million immigrants come in from countries that are totally culturally incompatible with Germany, then it doesn't matter what I think about Europe. Germany will have killed itself, and I hope they don't do that because I love Germany and I want Germany to thrive.
Now, folks, you might remember here in the 2024 election, we'll call it big tech. Big tech, who did they support? In the 2024 presidential election, did big tech, did they support Kamala Harris or did they support President Trump? They supported President Trump. You had Zuckerberg and you had Jeff Bezos and you had Elon Musk. They all supported, all of them. They all supported President Trump in his campaign endeavor. And why? It's because they know that, listen, if the U.S. government, whoever is running the government, if the U.S. government does not stand up in defense of our American free speech online platforms, who will? Nobody will. They saw the writing on the wall. Elon Musk, Bezos, Zuckerberg, they all saw the writing on the wall. They realized that if the U.S. government does not stand up and protect their websites, their free speech platforms, free speech in some cases, then nobody will. Then Facebook, before you know it, Facebook is going to be operating at the whims of some authoritarian operating out of Brussels. Okay? Nobody wants that. That's why a lot of them supported Trump, and now Trump is standing up. Thank God. Listen. Thank God we have a president in the White House actually standing up for this stuff. And not just for us, but also for the patriotic Europeans trying to save their own countries. Thank God. Listen, Trump is doing them a big service. Seriously, he is. Thank God for it. Ladies and gentlemen, regardless of what happens here, we're going to keep on putting America first.